Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the
Yep,
fifth, sixth. Too many episodes, I can't count. Fifth episode of the Pit Boss Podcast. I'm Bryer.
I'm spicy.
We're here to talk about everything dirt, a little bit of asphalt, and then we got a great interview with you from Zane DeVault from Plymouth, Indiana. He's going to be joining us for about a 50-minute video or interview. It's pretty good to hear from him and hear who he grew up racing around. All that. So sit back, grab a beer or a Kool-Aid, whatever you guys want, and enjoy this episode. We're gonna give you a warning now. Old Spicy's got too much glizzies down his throat. He's a little horsey today, so we're gonna be safe with that. But let's start off with some World of Outlaws. They were at River City Speedway this weekend, and Logan Schuchart takes the dub there. Hottest Shield, and then Donnie Schatz, top three. That's pretty much the night. I mean, looking at it from 17th on back, I mean, they were all DNFs. 17 through 24 just out. No big names I can see from now. Uh, biggest hard chargers Brock Zierfoss, excuse me. He was 12 spots up, started 22nd, finished 10th. We're gonna go to the next night. I believe they were at the same place. Oh no, Red River Valley. They're there. Logan Schuchart. Again, that's two dubs in a row for this weekend. He had a pretty good running this weekend. Um, Only two DNFs there, so a lot better the second night. Um, David Gravel, Buddy Colfoyd, they ran out the top three. The hardest charger was Tanner Holmes, a name that gets brought up in the interview. Or not that I know, because we haven't done it yet, right? We haven't done the interview yet.
You
uh,
already said the time.
but anyways, Tanner Holmes, biggest mover of the night. +8, started 19th, finishes 12th, and Tanner Holmes just continues his run of good finishes. I mean, he won Last Chance there. Not too bad for Tanner Holmes. We go on to the late model series. Only two races for the sprint cars this week, excuse me. Um, Smooth operator Bobby Pierce, he takes the dub. Dennis Erb Jr. and Brandon Shepard round out top three. Nick Hoffman was in the top four, and then Brian Shirley. He was actually not the hard charger, but he started 16th, ended up sixth, and then Ryan Gustin. He was 23rd, finished 12th. He was your hard charger. Um, Johnny Scott, something happened with him. He had $0 in his money, so that's interesting there. But yeah, Smooth Operator takes a dub there. Next night, what do you think? Who do you think wins?
I'm guessing either the smooth operator or maybe Hoffman even.
Smooth Operator Bobby Pierce. Starting third, finished with a dub there. That's another paycheck. Good paycheck for him. Chris Madden, Brandon Shepard. Round out your top three, and then you're going to have, I believe it's a tie between Ryan Gustin and Brent Larson, up 9 spots. Larson was 24th to 15th, and Gustin was where did I just see that? I'm blind. Gustin was 15th to 6th, so he had a pretty decent run there as well. That's two $10,000 wins for Bobby Pierce. We go into the next night. Bobby Pierce ain't have very good luck. I mean, he still makes the feature. Started fourth, finished ninth in there. So I mean, he goes from winning two nights in a row to what is that? -4, -5.
Yeah,
Excuse
minus
me,
four.
-5. So he's fourth to ninth. But Brandon Shepard, B Shep, gets the dub there in the B5. Tanner English gets second, and Ryan Gustin third. Gustin had a good week, solid 3 days. Bobby Pierce wins the first two nights, finishes sixth. Not too bad. I mean, 10,000, 10,000. I believe 3,300, yeah. So not too bad there. B Shep gets the dub. And then let's go talk about USAC. They are at Kokomo for SmackDown, correct?
Yep, they were
And
there Thursday through Saturday.
can we just rename it Justin Grant SmackDown instead of the Kokomo SmackDown? Because that's essentially what it was.
Yeah, that. I watched a few of the races. I watched one here in my dorm Thursday, Friday. I really didn't watch it, but at a friend's wedding we had it on. And then Saturday, my buddy Chad had it on in the trailer, and anytime Justin Grant hit the track, I mean, there was no contest of even anyone being close to him. The closest someone was to him is when he was lapping them.
I'm not gonna lie, I had thought about going to the SmackDown, but I also just I coached 2 games that day, so I was not really I was wanting to. Then I was like, I got to think, I was like, man,
Don't want to feel the heat.
it wasn't really the heat. It was just I knew like there ain't no way Justin Grant's gonna win the first 3 nights and not win the third. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, the first two, not
The
the
first two,
final.
yeah, but not the final. It's like I knew, and then I my fat ass went to Canes because I love Raising Canes, and I looked on my phone and I saw somebody mention if you can win 8 seconds in Kokomo, you can win anywhere with that car. And I was just like, man, I'm happy I didn't go. Congrats to JG, but he put a spanking on him.
Every time on the track, not even just features. It was qualifying. It was hot laps. It was, or not hot laps, but heat race. It was the king of the hill. It was the dash. I mean, feature. Anytime he hit the track, he was undoubtedly the fastest car every time he hit that track.
Then he turned around and ran Silver Crown at Worldwide Technology, and he finished third. Started ninth, finished third. He was a hard charger that race. So dirt, asphalt, he was running. He was running it this weekend.
He was a man on a mission. I will say that. Definitely on a mission.
Now let's go over to no midgets. USAC didn't run any midgets.
Extreme did though over
Extreme
the
did.
weekend.
You got the stats for that, correct?
I do.
All right,
Um,
hand it over to you, Spicy.
so for your Saturday or your Friday race, my bad. Your winner was Zach Dom. Your second place was Cannon McIntosh, and your third place was Hayden Reinbold. But it looks like your biggest mover here was Taylor Reimer. Oh God, I butchered that one so bad. Uh, they were up +8 from 13th to 8 or 5th, and then biggest loser here. I'm guessing. Oh yeah, must have had an on-track accident. Ryan Timms went down 12 because he started on the pole.
Flying
So
Ryan
not
Timms.
a great run for him. I know he's been looking to
He's
do
been.
really good
I was
there
gonna
and
say he's
has been
been.
doing pretty relatively well.
Yeah, he's not been too bad. I know he's been trying to go with the Kyle Larson series a little bit here and there when they run, but besides that, I mean, he's not doing too bad, I would say.
No, he's definitely got a good team there with. I believe he's with Keith Coons. Am I wrong? Because
I
he's with
think I
that
think he
JBL.
I think he is there with that, and then when they go to Extreme, I'm pretty sure that's like his own deal with sponsors, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, flying Ryan Timms, he's young too. Pretty sure
Yeah, he's
he's.
another
I'm pretty sure
probably
he's.
younger than me.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not out of high school yet. So it's good to see young guys get in there and step up.
Yeah, and then
Um,
on your Saturday night, your winner was Gavin Miller, who was also your hard charger, up 10 from 11th to 1st. Second place was Ryan Timms, and third place was Jade Averdesian.
how do you say that?
Averdesian?
Is it Averdesian or is it Avedesian?
I don't know.
I've heard it said
I'm
different
just saying.
times. So.
I'm just saying what I think it is. Not saying it's right, but that's what I'm saying.
Gavin Miller winning for the BWFC club. Getting the dub out there in the extreme midgets. Is that the only ones you got for them, or is there more?
Um, I saw they ran Thursday, but I did not see any results from the Thursday night. So
I got you. Let's move on to some asphalt stuff. Let's talk about IndyCar first. I watched that race. You said you didn't. Usually, you're the one who watches it, and not me. And so, I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
was a little busy
I
driving
looked
back
out
to
my,
Indy.
I looked out my window, and there's some random guy walking by my street, and we never have that happen. So I kind of peeking at it to make sure they don't steal my whip. Anyways, But yeah, IndyCar. Scott Dixon, man, he's just on a tear the past couple races. That was a fuel strategy race. He only had 3 stops, and the Pato Award had 5. So I mean, he was able to save tire, run what he needed to. Um, yeah, it was just David Malkus. He was third.
Malukas.
Malukas, I don't give. Yeah, Malukas. He ended up third. Rossi, McLaughlin, Newgarden hit the wall, so that kind of ruined his stuff. Sakoto, Takamo, I don't know how to say his name. Hold on, let me see. If I see it, I know how to say it. Takuma Soto, Takuma Sato. Ha! He had another wall and ruined his day. Ericsson, though, Marcus Ericsson announced that he's leaving and going to Andrade Autosports.
I'm honestly excited for that, just because Andretti has had a good year, but they really haven't done much to capitalize on their good year.
Yeah,
So seeing that they're making the move to get in my eyes, a really good driver who you know can win at any given moment is going there, I think they have the potential to have a great season next year.
now let's go to truck race. I personally forgot that they were running on Sunday. I forgot a lot
Yeah, they
this
were right
weekend.
after the ARCA race.
Yeah, and they ran. It was essentially butted up right next to IndyCar. Like IndyCar ended and they were like just starting. They raced at the Milwaukee Mile. Hocevar led a handful of laps, but at the end of it, I want to say, Grant Enfinger. No, was it Grant Enfinger that won?
I did not watch the trucks. I watched the ARCA.
I want to
I
say
did not watch the trucks.
Grant Enfinger won, but I did see that Hocevar had like a little slide job that ran into him and tried holding the lead for as long as he can, but he couldn't make the pass, couldn't hold on to it. It was Grant Enfinger. He takes a dub. He is officially locked into the next round. I don't know how they do their rounds. It's a round of 8, so they go round of 10, round of 8. So then Enfinger's locked in. Ben Rhodes is on the cut line. He is 3 points out of it. So I mean, truck race has a good race. Matt DiBenedetto is 20 points out of it. That's not impossible, but
Does
Matt
take some luck.
DiBenedetto, dude, he I don't know how to explain him. He's one of the more lovable people in the garages, but also like one of those people you're just like, man, like you got to do something. And so he is 20 points back. They're going to Kansas. That's their next race. Another cookie cutter. Um, something Hocevar's been good at. Zane Smith, Heim. So it's going to be a good battle with them winning your in situations. Ty Majeski's already in, I believe. So it's Heim, Eckes, Hocevar, Smith, Crafton, Sanchez all battling for that spot. Smith is only 29 spots up. Hocevar's 56. So, I mean, Hocevar has 2 bad races. He's possibly out of the playoffs, and that's disappointing for the season he's had.
Yeah, especially since I believe he got his first win this year too. I believe I was watching that. I think it came down to a technicality, but at that point, you got to take what you get. There isn't
Oh,
no,
yeah, it did happen. But then he
oh,
went.
I really didn't get it, but no, you got to take that. That's serious, big money. Championship opens up opportunities for maybe the Xfinity series or even just getting more sponsors behind you too.
But yeah, I mean, he won Nashville though too, so it wasn't like it was luck or anything. He won Nashville. Cookie Cutter's also a good thing for him. So we'll see how they go in Kansas. We go to the Xfinity Series. Man, what a race! Did you happen to catch the finishing there?
I did
It was
not.
like .006 with Justin Allgaier taking the dub there. Sheldon Creed, the guy that's been on the cutoff, he was second. He bumped him up. He went from the cutoff to 7th right now in playoff points. Riley Herbst is in the battle. Brandon Jones, Brett Moffitt. I'm gonna be real honest. I don't see anybody outside of Jones making it. Jones is minus 88 to the cut line. Riley Herbst is minus 20 to the cut line. So unless one of them win, I think it's going to be tough for them to see any sort of chance in the playoffs. Um, Jeb Burton, a big surprise to a lot of people. He actually made it. Like he is in the playoffs right now as we stand. He does have a win. And then you have Sammy Smith, Josh Berry, who is going to Cup next year. He's in sixth right now in playoffs. And then Chandler Smith, Sam Mayer, Cole Custer, Allgaier, Nemechek, Hill. Um, we go to Darlington. JR Motorsports is known for kind of running that track a little bit here lately. But that was also with Noah Gragson, the forbidden word, I guess you should say. Forbidden name in NASCAR right now. But yeah, so look for one of the JR's cars. I don't see why a colleague Daniel Hemmer couldn't win it. Cole Custer, Austin Hill. Yeah. So Nemechek's also good. So look for those cars to take some dubs. Next we go to the Cup Series. Wow. I mean, that was some hard wrecks. Let's get to Blaney's wrecks first. I don't know if you saw the pictures or saw what anything looked like, but there was like a side by side picture of what Dale Earnhardt Senior's picture like thing was. So he hit it just right. That just goes to show how NASCAR has essentially how safety proof it's been right now.
Yeah, and it also goes to show like some of these engineers that are putting in double time to even, maybe rework the chassis so it doesn't bend as much or, you know, to really keep that driver safe. Like the engineering now on the seats, back in the day you'd see the half seats that maybe have a headrest to now it's you're fully in a seat.
Containment,
You
yeah.
are full containment seat. So it's just great to see that people have been stepping up and the work shows off that the safety equipment really does do what it's meant to do.
And then the wreck that everybody was talking about, the Ryan Priest flip. When's the last time that you saw such a violent flip?
In all honesty, it reminded me a lot of the King from Cars.
I did
Just
see that. Um,
like just the way he took air.
I know, but
That I'm surprised he was able to get out of the car. Like
it was scary. I
figured
was
he didn't.
I was watching it on my way back from Lafayette, and I saw I go, oh fuck. Excuse my language, but like my fiance was like, what, what? And I do this with a bad habit. I usually have a race or something on like a little phone holder on the way home, and I was like, look, and it's just. I was just like, I'm honestly scared to where this is and where it could be and what it could come out of it. But he comes out on his own power, good to go. Just man, I'm thankful for NASCAR's safety protocols. I'm thankful for where they're at nowadays. It was something that I, as a fan, don't like to see, and I'm happy that he walked away from it.
Yeah, no one ever wants to see a wreck like that where you don't even know if the driver's getting out. Those
And
wrecks are just never great for the sport or just people in general,
yeah,
doing what they love, doing their job, and you don't even know if they're going to get out the car.
yeah, it was definitely scary to say the least. Bright side, Christopher Buscher takes his fifth dub of the year. No, his third
Third, I
dub,
think.
third dub in 5 races. So the past 3 races, he has been on fire. I mean, I don't know what
Pretty good
else you want to
percentage.
explain it.
60% win percentage in the last 5 races ain't bad.
With his win, it puts Bubba in on points. So the 3 drivers in on points are Bubba, Kevin Harvick, and I believe Brad Keselowski. Those are the 3 drivers that are on points. Bubba is the last car to make it. He is 8 points away from the cut line right now. I mean, it essentially resets except for certain things. Um, Harvick's 4, Stenhouse is 3. McDowell's 1 point away. And then Blaney, Logano are the first two above the cut line, +1. Reddick +2. Blah blah blah. William Byram is tied with Martin Truex, who Martin Truex won the regular season champ. He got bonus points, and to see that Byron was able to maintain his position due to playoff points, like it's interesting to see how this season ends for Byron. Notable people that didn't make it: Chase Elliott. What a name to not make the playoffs.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially someone that's been so big and popular these past handful of years. I mean, I think he made it the past few years as well, and
I think
to
it's been
not make it
7
this
years.
year,
I think it's been 7 years that he's made it in a row.
yeah, I mean, when you have a streak so long of making it and then you just don't make it, it's kind of throws people off.
And I mean, he probably could have pointed his way in. But at the same time, if you think about it, 3 cars pointed their way in. His teammate Bowman didn't even make it. 3/4 of Stuart Haas Racing didn't make it, so the only person in Stuart Haas to make it was Harvick. Um, Joe Gibbs Racing has, I'm pretty sure, all their cars in it. Maybe no, who's not in
No,
it?
because
Ty
you
Gibbs.
said
Ty
Joe
Gibbs.
Gibbs. You know, say I don't think he made it at all.
Nope. But Truax, Hamlin, Bell's in it. Kyle Busch is in it. Austin Dillon isn't in it. That's a name that usually sneaks in. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how NASCAR is with the playoffs. They go to Darlington, Las Vegas, and then Bristol Night to end out the round of 16. Bristol Night always puts on a good show.
Oh yeah, Bristol in general is a good show.
If we're looking at it, Darlington, that Hamlin's won there. Truex, Kyle Larson's been fast. Heck, last year Eric Jones won this race. So I'm not saying it's a crapshoot, but also like look for, I would say look for a Hendrick or Gibbs car to win, in my opinion. So don't, I mean, Busher is great and everything, but Darlington just takes a lot more experience, in my opinion. So I would look forward to somebody like Larson or Hamlin or Truex to win it. I could see Kyle Busch even sneaking in a win. After that, they go to Las Vegas, which is another cookie cutter. I think Byron takes that again. I think I think Byron takes that. Um, I would say look out for like Blaney or Reddick, but like I said, if I had to guess, I would say Byron. And then if we were going to Bristol Night, man, Bush's name just pops out for me. Bush has been decent there. I think if he needs to win to get in, which I don't think he needs to, but I think he could easily
Well, I
win
think he already
there.
has a win this year to lock him in.
Well, this goes on to round of 12.
Oh, yeah,
So,
oh yeah.
um, but also you could somebody who didn't win, Chase Elliott could win there. I mean, it's just a crapshoot. We go back to Vegas. Vegas, Bowman's won there before. So I mean, it's interesting to see how the playoffs work. I'm interested to see how they go. I like the playoff system, but I will say the one thing that is the downside of playoff system is you could win every race but the last one and not win the championship.
Yeah, that can kind of be a little crooked
Yeah.
because like you did all this work during the season, you know, basically throughout the entire races you ran, and you don't even get the reward at the end. Sometimes I think it kind of should be just off of points in general. Don't
Yeah.
even include the win
Go back in the old
because
days.
you figure they also let all the other people race as well. So let's just say some random, I don't know, let's just say some person who didn't even make the playoffs in the first place goes and wins that race by chance. Well, he just won. Plain and simple.
That's not how the playoffs work.
No?
That's not how
I
anything
thought
works.
whoever won the race was considered, or I guess it would be anyone within the
It was whoever finishes
playoffs,
best in the
wouldn't it?
playoffs. Yeah. Whoever finishes best in the playoffs. Um, let's go to our beloved US 24. Um, let's start out with the junior sprints. Where's that at? Noah Betts, P second to P first. McKenna Crin, P third to second. Riley Conley, I would say, a good run, P8 to P3. Declan Fitzpatrick, P12 to 4. Miles Bartley, 9 to 5. And then, yeah, Declan Fitzpatrick, he was hard charger. Started 12th, finished 4th. So, congrats to him on the hard charge there.
That's not who the Hard Charger was, believe it or not.
Who was a hard charger?
Leland Dice, he went up plus 10,
In the
16 to 6.
in the junior sprints?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fire Sheetsy, man. I'm gonna have to do it. But hey,
And I got it pulled up right here, and it says plus 10 for Leland Dice.
shout out to him for a hard charger. Let's go to restricted. You got Kale Cannon, P7 to P1.
I
Jackson
think he's
Peters.
become a pretty constant winner nowadays, eh?
It sounds like it's pretty constant to me. I'm pretty sure last time we've read these off, the past 3 times he's been the winner. Jackson Peters, P4 to P2. Adam Artman, P3. Started P3, so ended P3. JJ Williams, P9. Started P9, ended P4. Cruz Stanfield, started P6, ended P5. This is what I have for hard charger. I have Liam Ball, P20 to P10. All right.
That's what I got as well this time.
Shout out to Sheetsy there, baby. Let's go to senior class. Russ Gamester,
Oh
P3 to
boy.
P1. Uh-oh, was there something I missed in there?
I don't think anyone may have pointed this out, and it may not be a huge thing, but the seniors went green to checkered.
Ooh, winner, coffee dinner, baby.
Like I got time to go use the bathroom. Well, when I came back, hell, they were already throwing the checkered flag.
You taking a shit in
What?
there?
Yeah.
Gangster takes the dub from P3. Roger Ritchie, P2 to P2. Ron Dennis, P5 to P3. Wayne Miller, P9 to P4. Bill Malco? Yeah, we'll go with
I think
Malco.
Malco.
P4 to P5. He dropped a spot. Wayne Miller, P9 to P4 is what I have for hard charger.
Yep.
Alrighty. Um, let's go to A Wing. We have the Charlie Allen, P1. Blaine Culp, P2. Parker Perry, P5 to P3. Megan Cooley, Megan Cooley, P4. And Cannon Posey, P3. It looked like there wasn't a lot of racing there. I mean, Jackson Laudaball came from 15th to 9. Hard charger, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
No, actually, no.
Oh,
David Burt.
Sheetsy! Ah! Damn it!
17th to 10th.
Dang it, Sheetsy. Come on, man. Fired.
He's up 7. So one more than Lauterball.
Sheetsy. Anywho, it looked like there wasn't a lot of passing in the top 5. I mean, Parker Perry went P5 to P3. Cannon Posey dropped 2 spots. But Cooley, Culp, and Allen all stayed their own positions. I mean, congrats to Charlie Allen, another BWFC member. Congrats on the dub. And then let's go to, what do you want to do first? Outlaw non-wing or you want to go A non-wing?
Uh, I mean, you could save Outlaw for last since they technically had a big race this weekend with the Richard Sterling Memorial.
All right, let's go to A non-wing. Caleb Sheetsy takes the dub again. P4 to P1. Parker League P5 to P2. Bo Brandon P6 to P3. Austin Burnworth P2 to P4. Bill Malco P12 to P5. Is this one right? Caleb Bolton 19 to 9.
Yep.
Caleb Bolton,
Yep.
K-Bob. See, I grew up with Caleb Bolton, and I love seeing him race. One of my favorite memories of Caleb Bolton was the Sprague. I want to say he was like 22nd or 23rd. He was like one of the last cars. But that freaking wheel man wheeled it into the top 6 to lock himself into the night later, the next night. Like that is one of my memories of like Caleb Bolton. Like if you ever watch Caleb Bolton, he's always elbows up. And yeah, like I'm happy to see him back in a car. I know with work and other problem situation, he can't really get in it. But that is one kid, man. He's a driver, so it's good to see him. Um, Like you said, Sterling Memorial, Stone Sharp takes the dub. I did see the trophy. That was a cool looking trophy.
Oh,
Um,
I thought it was pretty nice as well. It's a nice piece to hang on the wall, definitely to kind of showcase
why
as
are you
well.
why are you so awkward?
What do you mean?
It was a nice piece. Anyways, Bo Brandon P6 to P2, Springer P8 to P3, Gangsters P7 to P4, and then Caleb Sheetsy, man, BWFC 18th to 5. I have him as a hard charger. He made the notes. Is that right or wrong?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure plus 13. Yeah,
Okay, okay. I just want to
yeah.
make sure. That rounds it out for 24. I gotta ask you. Did they make any judgment calls this weekend?
They did not,
Was there
and I
calls?
s-
Was there
and I
calls that?
say it like that because there were, in my eyes. I mean, I've never raced, so I don't have that racing mind. From a fan perspective, there was a few instances where I felt like they really could have definitely applied that. There was some sketchy sliders, definitely like some of those short sliders that were kind of like where you kind of grit your teeth and you're like, "Ooh, why did you just do that?" And there were some people moving each other out the way, and so I definitely think there could have been some calls, but they didn't. And then I know one thing was there were some rowdy fans in the stands Saturday as well. They were throwing stuff at drivers on track. That was not cool at all. Not fun.
If they were donuts, you'd be running out there, wouldn't you?
No, it wouldn't. A little dirty for
Oh,
me. Hey, you can't do the 5 second rule. I can't get my fat ass out there quick enough.
oh man. Well, there goes that portion of the podcast. We're gonna slide on into an interview with Zane DeVault, talk about his life in racing, how he got started, where he's at now, the situation he's in. Um, I'm looking forward to it. I've known him for a long time, family friend, so it's interesting to see his side of racing. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Welcome to our interview segment here. We got somebody from Plymouth, Indiana down here. He's been around here recently around the eastern side of India, or not Indiana, eastern side of the United States, running sprint cars. And it was North Carolina where you were at?
Yes, sir.
North Carolina. It's Zane DeVault, driver of the number 77 around here. If you ever watch him seen him drive a 360 around here. Zane, you're home now. You said, right?
Yes, sir. Home for a while, hopefully.
So we'll kind of start off there. You were running for a team out in North Carolina. You said things didn't really get to where you wanted to, and now you're back home. Looking forward, what are the plans like with you?
Uh, Nothing right now. Actually made a few phone calls today. Trying to find out what the next journey is. There's a few teams out there, but and you know how things are nowadays.
Yeah.
It's just far and few between with teams and everything. You got to bring money and everything, and obviously, we grew up together and everything. You know how that is with
Yep.
me. It's not my mom and dad don't have money, but I'll bust my ass and do what it takes. But sometimes that just doesn't cut it nowadays. They want you to bring money, and the cost of racing. You guys have talked about it over the last couple podcasts. It's crazy. So it's getting harder and harder, but made a few phone calls and hopefully something comes up.
Well, with that said, are you still trying to go down the wing path? Or are you trying to look for non-wing rides, rides? What's your go-to here?
So, I mean, I would like to run wing. Obviously, you've seen Chris Wyndham, Tyler Courtney, and everyone try to go over there to the wing side. There's just man, it's so much easier to make money and keep a operation going and everything in there. USAC's starting to kind of up their pay, which is good. But really at this point, I'd drive about anything. I mean, if it was a 3-wheeler, I'd drive that thing. So.
So you're home now, where you're coming from. Let's start off. You started out with quarter midgets, correct, down in Kokomo?
Yep. Yep.
And then how did you win any in quarter midgets, or how was quarter
Oh
midgets for
yeah.
you?
Oh yeah. It was pretty good. Like I was in the good era. We were all buddies with Justin Haley and Spencer Baston and Justin Peck, and there was a lot of great people in that area that we raced against. I mean, there was hundreds of cars that raced back then. Now, you go there and there's maybe 50 cars altogether, and I mean, back in the day, the Grands and the States races, I mean, there was 300 cars. There was people parked out on the road with haulers and everything. So, um, it's just not the same as what it used to be. But, um, yeah, I won the state points and everything against Justin Haley, or against Justin Peck. It was actually, we were tied in points and it went to criteria. That was when Mini Indy was still running on a weekly deal, Kokomo, and then we ran 2 races at Terre Haute also on the dirt track. So that was pretty cool. But I won a lot in there. I mean, we just raced mainly Kokomo. We'd run Mini Indy when Kokomo would have a weekend off, but won the points deal and everything there. And then went to mini sprints for a year. Took a year off and then went to sprint cars.
So you're in micros after your quarter midgets. What age were you? Did you do your little mini sprint deal?
I was 11 because at 12 I took a year off. Yeah, so I was 11 years old. I ran it. Well, back then it was Miami County.
Yeah. Now it's nothing.
And then now it's nothing. Now it's nothing. Yeah, but and then I ran a couple races at Logan Sport and everything, and then took a year off and then went sprint car racing.
So were you straight into 360s, or were you 305 when you went straight?
Nope, straight into 360s. At that point, it was sod. We ran with sod back then, and ran Butler on a weekly deal here and there when we had the money to and everything back then.
And you were in family-owned equipment, correct?
Yep. I was in family-owned until 2019, till I got in a 410.
Did your dad race, correct?
Yeah, he ran mini sprints back in the day.
That's what I thought.
Drag raced and then went to mini sprints. And he actually helped. Him and Rodney traveled. Rodney Staley and everything traveled to Camden together. I mean, that's a long time ago. So, he had a concept and everything. So kind of.
So you skipped the micro stage. What in you wanted to skip it? Was it you? Was it family? Was it you just didn't feel like you were at that level? What made you just completely skip micros?
At that point, I ran for Jim Ray. We didn't own a micro, and obviously, like you guys have talked about and everything, man, everything's getting so expensive. You can run a micro just basically for the same amount of money as you can put into a sprint car. And you're racing for more in a sprint car and everything nowadays. And I mean, yeah, it's closer and everything, but at that point in time, it was make a decision. Do you want to try to do this for a living or just as a hobby? Obviously, there's select few that can do it for a living with the mini sprints and everything, but they still have usually they have day jobs, and it might be with the micro deal or whatever, but just as a driver, just show up, be a driver, do it for a living, is very rare, for micros. But obviously, in the sprint car world, it's a lot easier to achieve. So we essentially just wanted to jump straight to that, and obviously, it's a different beast, between the micros and the sprint car. So didn't want to create any bad habits and everything that you create in the micro to go to the sprint car, and you see all these young people coming in now. Everyone's on a stopwatch nowadays.
Yeah.
You can't just you can't come in at 30 years old and decide, hey, I'm going to set the world on fire and I'm going to get all these rights. They want longevity. They want someone young that can grab attention. So it was it was as young as possible to get in a sprint car and start making some noise was the best thing to do. So that's what we chose to do.
Now, making your decision between wing and non-wing, what was it? The money, or was it just, hey, like I prefer wing? What was the choice there?
It was we tossed around the idea and everything, and actually, Kevin Atkins was the one that really pushed my dad to get me in a sprint car and not go into a mini sprint and everything. But yeah, it was kind of the money. I mean, back then it would have been crazy to try and compete at the non-wing stage. I mean, you had Kokomo running every Saturday or every Sunday, and it's not like you can go to Butler and it's an entry level, sprint car race and everything back then. And you go to Kokomo on a Sunday, it was a USAC show.
Yeah.
It wasn't no easy. You were fighting in the back of the B main, and you at that point in time you weren't going to get a lot of laps. So that's kind of why we at that point decided we'll just go wing racing. And to buy a 410, it was so much. It was back then. It was a little difference, not a big difference, but it was cheaper to do a 360. And sod was a traveling deal. They paid a little better back through the field, which where we obviously knew we were going to be. So that's kind of the way we took.
Now, did you win any in a micro, or was it just one
I
time
won. I
no-brainer?
won one race. I won one race. Yeah, yeah.
So you take your year off. Was that a year for you kind of just to relax, or was that just them trying to figure out what your next step was?
No, so Jim and Karen, and their kid Travis also raced at that point in time, and um, I think they were kind of on the verge of getting out of it at that point. And we had some things together for the sprint car deal, but didn't have everything completely together. So we just kind of took a year off. We actually traveled around with Kevin Atkins while he was racing, kind of learned what all we needed to do and everything on the sprint car deal to get ready for our first year. So it was basically money. Like I said, obviously my family don't have a lot of money, so we kind of just took a year off to save some money and get ready for that next year.
So now you're sitting 13 and you're racing against people, I mean, what, like 40, 45-ish years
Oh yeah,
old?
yeah,
And what
yeah.
is your when you first step out on a 360 on a full track, what was your thought? Do you even remember it?
I remember it very, very well. We get there. We bought used tires from Brett Mann, and we're both in the B main, and I go in the corner, and the Jacob's ladder broke, and me and Brett Mann, my bad, Brett Mann, me and Brett Mann, we collided, and Brett Mann comes over. I'm 13 years old. My seat is so small that it looks like a booster seat. And he comes up and he goes, "Son, you got a lot to learn." And I'm like shivering, man. I didn't know what to do. And I come in and Kevin Atkins goes, "Come on, we're gonna go down there and talk to Brett Mann." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like this guy was ready to rip my head off. Like this is not good. So, anyways, we go down there, and the first thing Kevin Atkins says, and I'm thinking like he's gonna like be like, "Hey, he's sorry, whatever," and he's like, "What in the hell were you even doing in the B main?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is not gonna be good." but uh, but anyway, so ever since then, me and Brett Mann have been pretty close and pretty good buddies. But yeah, I mean, he explained that something broke in the car and everything. But yeah, it was that first experience was pretty crazy, and and we actually ended up buying some more used tires from him and went to Butler the very next weekend. Um, and that was when Doug Zimmerman and everyone was dominating back in the
Yeah.
day there. And we run our heat race, and that was when they did the pill draw under the bleachers. and I got second in my heat race. And I'm like, awesome! I'm in the pill draw. I'm hoping like starting mid pack. No. Once in my life, I drew the 1, and I'm like, oh my god! And the only thing I was worried about is I look at Doug Zimmerman and I'm like, how do I do the 4 wide? What do I do? like that was the only thing I was worried about. He goes, you just go to the bottom. You're good. And so, but yeah, it was pretty nerve wracking. You're 14 years old and you're standing up there ready to. I think back then we had 3 heat races and top 2 redrew, so it was for the top 6. And I was like, they were all up there laughing and they're asking me how old I was. And actually, my birthday was it was that Tuesday, so I was 14 at that point. And I said I was 14, and I think the next youngest person in the redraw was like 30 years, or I think they were 30 or 31 years old. And so we were all laughing about that, and they were all making fun of me and everything. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's a different way of thinking. At that point, um, it's crazy now to think, oh my gosh, I was 14 years old racing against all these 30-year-olds and everything. But I mean, I feel like you mature a lot faster than in that state. You can't be some 14-year-old that is on Instagram posting about girlfriends and everything. You gotta be focused. You're driving something that obviously can kill you. I mean, and really hurt you. So, um, and we didn't have a lot of money, obviously, and we didn't have the best of equipment. And it was a learning curve, obviously.
Yep.
We went out there, and actually the car, we led like the first 6 laps, and the car kicked out of gear, and I coasted to the infield, and all what happened was the linkage broke on the rear end, and my dad's like, I'm happy. I don't care. We're good. We're going home. It's in one piece. And Kevin Atkins's like, you should have stopped on the track and put it back in gear, obviously. But what learning curve thing. But my dad's like, nope, I'm good. My
Yeah.
14-year-old just ran at Butler, started on the pole. He's like, I didn't even watch the first 6 laps. He's like, so, but I mean, yeah, it's definitely scary. I mean, you see all these other young people coming in now, and things are a lot different now. They've got midgets and everything as kind of more of a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Back then to run a midget, there wasn't
There wasn't a
that
lot of
big of a
tracks.
field.
Yeah.
Correct. And it was more like they raced down south with
Mhm.
more of the non-wing stuff back then. And they didn't run Mount Pillar and everything that was close here. So that wasn't kind of the option. The Kenyan midgets were kind of started at that point.
There's a little bit of TQ midgets too around, correct?
Yeah, I think so. But they were kind of like they were just starting
Yeah.
on the mend of trying to build everything. And we didn't really want to get. The big thing was, we didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't want to get trapped with something that you
Yeah.
couldn't resell and get to the sprint car level. Obviously, that was the main goal. So that's kind of why we just went all in and jumped into the sprint car deal. So
I think I
I mean,
met
I think
you when 13, 14, when you first started sprint cars, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's when
yes,
I first met you. So, say
yep.
I was been watching you. Going through your years in sprint cars, what is your biggest win? Or actually, let's
Oh
go
man, my
let's go with
my biggest.
when was your first win? Let's go off there and then your biggest win.
Ooh, my first win in a sprint car, Crystal. I can't remember how old I was. I was pretty young. I would have been running a sprint car for a couple years. But it was at Crystal with a 360, and that was when Saad was 360 410 at that
Oh,
point. Um, so and Chad Blond, I beat Chad Blond by like inches. And that was a statement to be made. Back then Chad Blond was on fire. He just got off the All Star tour and everything, and was dominating at Butler and the Michigan area. So to beat him was really cool. And that was in my dad's car. That was my first win in a sprint car, and then we went back to the crate deal in Plymouth, and we ran the 2 years there, and then I ended up running 360 stuff again, and then went to a 410. But I don't know, man. Probably my biggest win, um, memory wise, which is pretty cool, would probably be the pro sprint deal down at Charlotte. That was a pretty cool
Oh,
deal.
I
You
remember
know,
that.
racing
I remember that.
on you're such on such a big platform. That was pretty cool. Um, Another cool one was last year when I was running for Brett Lane. You know, he had a tough year at the end. I had a really tough year at the end of the year last year, and we went to Atomic. Not really, you know. I mean, we went to win obviously, and we knew we could win, but
The thought
you know,
wasn't
you
there.
went there and well, right, and we just wanted to have fun and do good, you know. And we ended up, you know, getting fourth the first night and went back the next weekend and won. So, you know, that was a pretty good deal to kind of put my name on the map again. You know, after running Michigan and Ohio stuff with NRA, you know, that's all cool and great and everything, but you know, on the national level, you really got to get your name out there at some point. And Brett Lane really gave me an opportunity there. You know, they ran the All Stars and had a big following and a lot of people paying attention to them. So to win with them on the second night out was a huge boost for my career.
And then one of my things that I always have a conversation about with somebody when it comes to track safety was your wreck at Shady Hill. Let's go through that a bit because I remember hearing about it because I worked in Winnemac at the time as like a correctional
Yeah.
officer, and I had a conversation and someone was like, "Yeah, somebody was in a ditch the other night at Shady Hill," and I remember seeing on Facebook like in my mind like that must have been scary from your standpoint because you're trapped essentially.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I flipped upside down in the pond and it cleaned the wing off. And the frame sunk into the muck that was in the bottom of it and couldn't get out. But I mean, obviously, like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And I started to freak out when I was underwater. And I'm like gonna drown. You know, obviously, you know, people are on their way.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can get there fast enough. I knew I was outside of the track, but fortunately, everyone got to me in time. I mean, I was underwater for quite a while, but while I was just basically trying to like drink all the water and everything, at some point I was like, I just need to hold my breath and probably just pass out. So then at least it's nice and easy on me, whatever the outcome is. But yeah, luckily everyone got to me quick enough and got me out. But you know, at some point, everyone's like, "Oh, you're crazy for getting back in a sprint car." Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, when you're doing something you love and something like that happens, you don't think twice. You know, I mean, if there was a spare car there and we could have got it ready for the feature, you're damn right I would have got back in that thing. You know, that night. I mean, you know, you got to be tough. This sport isn't easy. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, you look at that and that's nothing. You know, that's no big deal. Right now, you know, I just went from racing for a living to I've got no job. You know, you got to figure something out really quick, and you know that's where it will humble you so quick, and you got to be tough. You know, you got to be ready for every punch, and you got to be able to swallow your pride and get back on the saddle and get rolling again. You know.
Was that the scariest you ever were like you've ever been in a wreck?
Yeah, I mean, it happened. You know, it happened so fast that I mean, the more you think about it, yeah, it was scary. You know, I mean, but you just like I said, you got to keep rolling, man. I mean, the more you think about it, and the more you second guess yourself, you're not gonna go out there and do as good. I believe, and you know, I think everyone that goes through and tries to plan out exactly what they're gonna do, you know, corner for corner doesn't work like that. You know, there's so many variables that are going to change, and you can't physically, mentally prepare yourself for what's going to happen. I mean, you know, so I think you just got to train your mind and your reactions and everything that you're. your reaction and your senses are going to take over out there on the track. So, I mean, I guess it was scary, obviously, but you just gotta kind of look past it and keep moving forward.
So you're home now. I did see your brother. He's been doing go karting. How's that been with you? I saw you were there yesterday. Is that is that different for you? I know he enjoys it. I see he wins fairly often.
Oh yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, and someone asked me, they're like, "Oh, how do you like that?" And I said, the the racing for a living, everyone thinks it's all fun and great and everything. It's a blast. Don't get me wrong, but when you have a bad night, it went from like we'll get them next week to it sucks. You're upset. Like that's food off your table. Is how you got to be. So every spot matters, and so the pressure's on, and you go out there and run the go kart deal, and it's no pressure. And I can race with my family and everything. And actually, just so you know, you'll get a kick out of this. I'm leading. He was a little faster than me, and we're 20 feet from the end, and he takes both of us out. And I'm like, dude, we were gonna run 1-2, and he's like, well, why'd you slow down? I'm like, well, because there was a corner there. But yeah, so we got together, and obviously we go to the tail with. I mean, we're 20 feet from the start finish line.
Oh, Landon. Oh,
And
Landon.
and I mean, it's not for money or anything, but obviously, I'm pretty competitive. And I got out and I was like, use your head. Like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man. But I said a few choice words at him actually too. But that's just the brotherly love. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's good. I think that he finally ended up getting into it. Obviously, at his age, I was in a sprint car running,
Yeah.
so there's a big difference there. But I think it's good that he's finally getting into it, and I'm glad that I can be a part of his journey, because I can tell him like, dude, this is the wrongs and this is the rights, and try and steer him in the right way. And he's just as bullheaded as I am. So he thinks he knows better than me and whatever. But once we cooled down and we talked about it, I was like, dude, you can't do that stuff. Like, there's a couple people that was kind of wanting them to get in the mini sprint and run a couple laps for him, and I'm like, you do that kind of stuff. You had a second place car.
Yeah.
Get second place.
Yeah.
Second place is a lot better than tearing everything up. You're in a go kart and nothing happened. Luckily, and no one got hurt or whatever. But when you're in a mini sprint and everything's a lot faster pace. You do that kind of stuff. Chances are you're gonna cost some people quite a bit of money and maybe hurt someone. So
Yeah.
I mean, or in a sprint car or anything like that. So I said, you gotta like those are those teachable moments that it's cool to be an older brother and teach him that he needs to cool it, and not drive emotionally. There's been several races where I'm like, man, I could have won that, but in hindsight being 2020, yeah, you could have, but you don't know. You might have absolutely destroyed you and someone else or hurt someone. So it's pretty cool to be a part of his journey and really help him along the way and try and guide him in the right direction, even though sometimes it's a big struggle, but
I remember
it's fun for
I
sure.
remember when they were first trying to get him in a mini sprint, and he was not having it. He was enjoying sitting in the
No.
pits.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
it's cool to
Yeah.
see that he's coming into his own form, though. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. He actually, the thing back then was his big thing was, I'll go out there and race by myself, but no one else can be on the track. So it's pretty cool that now it went from like no, he wants no one on the track to now he's like
I'm gonna
upset
take
because
you
there's
out.
not 100 cars. Yeah, I'm gonna take you out. Yeah, yeah.
Spicy, you got anything?
Well, I was just going to ask, what do you think is one of the most important things for these young drivers coming up to the sprint cars to have, whether it's sponsors or a certain mental thing? Like, what is the most important thing for them to have nowadays?
So man, it was funny you say that. I just had a really good conversation with a couple people this weekend about this, and me and my dad had a long conversation about this. You look at Tanner Holmes. He's a great example. You have to be approachable at all costs. It doesn't matter. At any point, you have to be approachable. It doesn't matter if you're out at dinner with your family, if you're in the race car, if you're in the pits standing there. You have to be very approachable because it's getting to the point where obviously politics and everything have changed since back in the day. Um, it went from being able to show talent and just raw talent of being able to drive and do good and everything. You know that American badass of Tony Stewart. What you see where they say he's the last American badass and everything. You just that it's hard to have that anymore unless you have money. You have to be very approachable. You have to be marketable. You look at Tanner Holmes. Was he a really good fit for the one? Yes, he was a great fit, and not necessarily because he hasn't won a lot of big races, but he has built the marketing side of it like tremendously. He changed the whole marketing side of racing, I believe. In the sprint car world. I think he said he's been doing it like 6 years or something, 6 or 7 years. As he's had that YouTube channel, and it doesn't only make you money and everything, but the good thing on that is it'll get you rides like that where you know that team obviously has been the underfunded team on the Outlaw Tour for years. I mean, but still done good, and I think that was a really good fit for him to get in and showcase. I mean, there's probably 100 other drivers that have been on the Outlaw Tour or All Stars or done a lot more racing wise than he has that would fit that seat and do good. But on the marketing side of everything, I mean, he was the best fit, I think. So I think at this point, for all these young kids, be approachable, be marketable. Like, it's so hard. Me coming from a little older, I know I'm young, but I still coming from the older generation where, we didn't have that stuff when we were young. We had YouTube, but it wasn't tutorial YouTube stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was now everyone gets on YouTube to watch things. You watch races on YouTube. Back in the day, you had to be there. And or on Mav TV, you bought a disc or a DVD of the replay of the race a month down the road. Now everything's online and you can see all these races and everything live. Everything's on YouTube. So I think it's just the big difference of that. All these young people, whether you have money or not, it still takes. It's who you know, not what you know. Still, I mean, you know, I think that's a big deal. So I think just and I mean it's hard. It's really hard to be marketable. I mean, people are not what they used to be. I mean, you look at all these NASCAR drivers and everything. You see people post all the time. Well, I tried to get a signature. Well, but they don't also put that they might have been getting in their car at that point in time, had their helmet and everything on, their gloves, and they got to get in because they got 30 seconds before they're late. But they didn't sign an autograph, so people are upset. That's so hard, and Facebook and everything, social media wise, um, people say things and you don't really know how to take it. You see one side of the story and you don't see the other. So I think social media is basically the big key thing right now. I mean, it can make or break your career so fast, man.
I mean, look at Hunt the Front in that case. I mean, they started out
Yeah,
little, and look where they're at now. In my opinion, they started the YouTube movement for drivers and everything. I mean,
yeah,
their merch, their cars, everything. I just think being able to put yourself in that spotlight, let them see a day in your shoes just helps tremendously in all aspects. And then you go to the other side, Facebook. I feel like Facebook ruins a lot of stuff for a lot of people. Like you can go on Facebook now, and I guarantee you there's going to be a post bad mouthing somebody about something. And I know 24 has been a discussion of topic for their rules, but it's like they got forced to do it, and now they're getting bashed on it by everybody on Facebook. I mean,
Correct.
let's go to the Wyatt Miller situation last year or 2 years ago. If I can't remember what year, but the whole burnout situation. Kelly Earnhardt's a
Yep.
big figure in every form of racing. And for an outcomer that doesn't know 24, doesn't know the situation that happened a couple weeks before, they don't understand that that rule was in place for a thing. So they just go and pretty much just badmouth Jim and Deb, and it's just like
Correct.
Facebook's going to ruin things for people as well as it's going to
Correct.
improve things. So it's one of those
Hmm. Well,
you can
and
choose your battles.
right. Well, and like the problem with that is, in the track's defense, the rule was posted, yes, and everything, but I get it. He's young. It's hard when we're all young. We all think we're invincible. We think we know better and everything. Um, and but the rule's a rule. In the tracks part, I think it was good that you know it sucks that it had to happen to someone like that. Um, and it was such a big moment for him. But I think it was also cool that the track still stood their ground, even though it didn't matter who they were. Um, but that's just one of those deals, man. It's a freak deal, like racing. Racing nowadays has a lot of those freak deals, and back in the day they had them too, but no one heard about them because they didn't have social media. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
I mean, everyone's making a big deal about all these freak deals, and we got to make it so much safer and everything. You look back in the day, man. There was so many more people hurt and killed and everything, but you didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
It was because of social media. So, and it goes back to what we were just talking about. Social media can make or break your career, and I mean, it's just that is the biggest thing right now in anything, in whether it's track, promoter, driver, doesn't matter.
Even
Social media
Dirt2Media,
is
like that's the thing. You get your name out there. That's how you do it.
correct. Yep, exactly.
Spicy, you got anything else?
Well, I was going to ask here. So, along with I know you said social media makes or breaks your career. Um, so I know you said it is definitely a big tool to help, but for some of these people who may be, that technical middle age for racing,
Hmm.
they're probably still my age, 18, but they're not in
Right.
sprint cars yet, so they're middle aged already. Do you think
Correct.
that social media platform is still very helpful, or do you think at that point it's almost kind of mute?
No, I mean, I think it is. It doesn't matter the age. I mean, you look at Sammy Swindell. They're still posting shirts. You know, the hashtag still winning deal. I mean, that is huge. You see that all over. And and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, you see that still winning all over. I mean, you see all these young kids on there posting on it and everything. I think it's a tool for everything. I mean, but you also see like Noah Gregson, his deal. He likes one post, and I mean, that possibly just ruined his career. You know what I'm saying? So it's really tough. You look at the Kyle Larson deal. Social media is so big now. Like, but you will. I'll tell you this: if you really look at this and tell me that Kyle Larson couldn't get a sponsor after the whole deal, whatever, with him and Bubba, and he's on the outs. Hendricks picks him up. No one will sponsor him. Hendricks puts Hendricks cars on it. Now, tell me that after he wins, why is it on every single thing he drives? It's on the IndyCar for next year. That just made him and made Hendricks that much better. I mean, on the lowest part of his life, probably, that he'll ever have, there was something that totally positive came out of that, of someone taking a risk on him. and but they promoted the crap out of that, man. I mean, they promoted it so much. It was on a sprint car, it was on the NASCAR, and now, I mean, it's on the Indy car. I mean, everything he is going to drive, Hendricks is all involved in now. So I guess that's a really good example where it can make or break your career. And I think even though it about broke his career, it also and then made it come back for better.
So then, in still sticking with the young driver kind of theme here, when you're racing quarter midgets, did you ever think that the people you were racing against were ever going to be professional drivers as well?
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, like you're running around. We get out of the carts, and all your dads are picking them up, putting them on the carts, pulling back to the trailer and everything. And we could have just taken each other out, and we're all like high fiving, like, let's go play football. Well, let's go out in the backfield. We're going to play football, or we were playing wiffle ball or riding bikes and everything. Kids being kids, right? You know what I'm saying? So, and at that point, we're all talking. We're gonna go be world outlaw drivers and all this stuff, and you say all that stuff, and at that point in time, you have no clue. You have no clue what is going to go on. You have no control over anything. And I think it ends up getting to the point where you start maturing, and we were in mini sprints, and Justin was very fortunate to run street stocks and everything out of Plymouth, and was killing it, man. I mean, he set several track records and everything. Had a lot of big names behind him, and gets into ARCA, and then you're like, oh man, we can do this. We were all talent level. I thought we were all the same. In quarter midgets and everything, we were all pretty close in talent. So I mean, and then you look at Spencer Baston. He gets some good rides in the midget and goes racing for Keith Coons, and obviously they had a little bit of more money backing them than me and Justin at that point. And I think then Justin finally gets a big break. He was running some midget stuff, and got a big break to run some big time races for some good people. And he's turned out to be one of the top racers in the country. And so I think it was just you know when you're young, it's the dream, and you don't really know if it's going to come true or not. But I mean, you about got to ride the wave. It's one of those things. It's so hard to. I wish I had a crystal ball to see the future and everything, but you just got to keep working for it. I mean, you can't quit even when it sucks. Right now I'm sitting at home like thinking, what am I gonna do? I got to find a ride to finish out this season and everything. But obviously, you just got to keep calling. You got to keep doing whatever you can do. Any ride you can get to get out there and prove that you still got it and everything. So I think that's the big thing is in your kid. You can't lose sight of your dreams and what your goals are. I mean, and that was pretty good.
Is that it from you, Spicy?
That is it from me.
That's it for me. You got any questions for us? We just grilled you for about 40 minutes. You got any questions for us?
No. I do want to say that I really appreciate you guys doing this. This is pretty cool, and I think it's cool that I mean you're seeing it more and more. I think it's good to expose talks and everything. Having Dirt2Media and everything do everything and help you guys and you guys being the host of it and everything. It's cool. Me and Bryer knew each other when we were young and everything. And, I guess let me put this way. So you asked me when I was young if I knew I was gonna do this. What did you guys think when you were young? Did you guys think you were gonna be in this position?
No, I didn't. When I was younger, I mean, you like you said, we've been together. You know my family. We don't have money. We don't
Yeah.
really do a lot of things. I didn't know what I was wanting to be when I grew up. Even when I got out of school, I was still in between of what I wanted to do. And then Dirt2Media, I mean, like I said, in the first episode, I started out with Fast 4, and my thought was, well, I can't afford a race car, so my next best thing is to kind of do social media, pictures, videos, and
Right.
now, like I said, went out on a limb with Fast 4 and shot the Sprague and High Banks Hustle with them a couple years, and then I go to 24. I'm helping them with social media. I get in contact with Ryan with Dirt2Media, and then he's like, "Hey, like, do you want to do some social media stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, like that's what I want to do." Like, my fiance and I have been in talks. Like, we want to eventually move to Charlotte now
Mm-hmm.
to do social media.
Yeah.
So, when I was growing up, I never thought that I was gonna be doing this type of stuff. I never thought I'd get paid to watch races or to
Right.
essentially hang out in the pits and shoot video. Like, to me, it's not work when I'm at the track, so I enjoy it.
Yep.
Spicy, let me hear
Then
this
in
awkward ass answer.
So in my case, when I was a kid, I raced for maybe 1 or 2 years, but after that, I absolutely hated racing. So seeing myself going to the track every week, getting excited to go, even going to college for racing now, it's just I did not even see myself in a million years as a kid doing anything involved with racing, nonetheless doing social media stuff. Because I will tell you, even though I'm a kid, I couldn't tell you how to work most technology things. Like it's amazing that my computer hasn't gotten a virus. I'm like a grandpa when it
Whoa,
comes to
whoa,
that.
whoa, 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 whoa! What you been looking up, Spicy?
Yeah,
Well, no,
viruses
it's like
have
you get
come.
those emails and I open them up, and
Oh yeah, the
next thing you
emails.
know, they're
Fucking emails
Oh
my
man.
ass. But
Yeah.
shit.
No, like I get your side. Like, I mean, heck, I had to text Bryer and I was like, how do I do this thing? Like, what am I doing? I mean, yeah. So it's I think that's cool, like that you guys are doing that though. I mean, I think this gives like people like me, or even younger people or older people, even like you were saying, the middle aged people that just being able to get on here, it might even be more of a struggle for them. Like you might have to be there and like do it for them, that like how to get the video, because I didn't even know how to get the video. But anyways,
You
I think
should
it's cool. Like,
you should have saw Rodney. He got on here. My whole
oh,
thing
that
is if Rodney can get on here, anybody can get on here.
was he smoking? Was he smoking while he was doing it?
No, he didn't have a stick the whole interview. Granted, it was
Oh
awkward,
my
but
gosh.
Spicy made it really awkward, even though that was his
yeah,
boss.
I messed that one up pretty bad, really bad.
Yeah. No, I just remember, a little off topic, but man, I remember walking in there young. I mean, I don't even know. I was young. I mean, me and Dawson were like little hellions running around the shop and swimming in the pool and everything. And I remember walking in there and Rodney turned around, wouldn't even say hi to my dad, and he'd be like, Zaner, every time. So I remember that and he'd always have it stuck out right, like Zaner, you know how it is. But man, he's a great dude, and I'm really happy that his program is starting to really take off.
I
His
mean,
stuff,
he's got a good
his stuff
he's
has
got a
been good.
good young group in there. I mean, he's had Sheets in the
Yeah.
past 2 years, Camden Winter, and then Jack comes back on the micro sprint scene, and he gives them feedback on the new car. Like I think Rodney and that concept team, they're set to do some big things. I mean, Caleb's leading
Yes.
24 in points. Caleb on his own has been a terror, but still to have a driver like Sheetsy and Winters and everybody, like, it's a big deal for that concept crew.
I agree. And this gives another statement to Rodney of how good he is, and how he really shapes people,
Mhm.
not only just to do his stuff. You look at Hunter Jackson. Hunter Jackson moves down there with me, and obviously I wrecked a couple times this year and everything, and we bent the frame one night, and Hunter's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "We fixed it before. Like, you fixed stuff at Rodney's. Let's fix it." And he's like, "All right." So we get a sledgehammer and some torches out, and we start fixing it. And it was pretty funny. And we often jokingly said, oh, Rodney would be proud. Rodney would be proud. So it was pretty good. And there's definitely been a lot of stories of me and Hunter talking about Rodney and all the fun times that Hunter's had at Rodney's shop and everything. And I think it just gives a good statement to Rodney of what he really does for the younger generation, and teaching, not only to work on them to drive good quality cars and give good feedback and everything. Me and Hunter have done really good together. I feel like we communicate really good, and I feel like if that deal would have worked, if a couple things would have been different, and worked out in our favor with that deal down in North Carolina, it would have been really good. There was a lot of big things to come with that team, and I wish it would have happened. We were going to try and run the All Stars next year and everything, and things. There was just a couple things that we didn't see eye to eye on. Hunter didn't was kind of on my side, and it's unfortunate, but I can't be upset. I mean, like I've ran the biggest race in sprint car racing that's ever been a part of this whole deal. I was a part of it and had a shot of making the show, and we blew up a motor. So you know, it was a lot of good. We've had a lot of good runs in that thing. First night out, we were together. I think we raced like 4 races, and we go to Atomic to run an All Star show, and we end up with a top 10. Something that it's the All Stars are not easy, especially at Atomic. You've got Cole Duncan and Skylar G and everyone there that you know it's not just against the All Stars that are good. You've got those guys that Cole Duncan. It doesn't matter if the Outlaws or the All Stars come in. It doesn't matter who comes in there. He's going to be in contention to win. So it was a good operation. I think if a couple things would have went differently, it would have been a lot better. But I just me and Hunter did a lot of good together, and I hope we can find something to do together and work together soon in the future again. So
Well, Zane, we appreciate you coming on here. We appreciate you taking your time, letting us talk to you. I hope the best of you. I hope you find a ride, and I hope honestly, in my opinion, I'm not trying to be selfish. I hope it's local so I can come and watch you race once in a while.
yeah,
But
for
I
sure,
say, ever since you've been in sprint cars, it's always been Michigan, like Alton
yeah,
Butler, and
yeah,
that. Like I've really the
yep.
one time you were down and around here. Like I always find something that I'm busy, but um,
Oh yeah,
I hope you find something soon. I hope everything works out again. On behalf of
I
Dirt2
appreciate
Media,
it.
we appreciate you coming on talking to us.
I appreciate it. It was a blast. I'm glad you guys are doing this, and I think this is good for, like I said, for all ages, and I think it's good for racing in general. So I appreciate you guys doing it, and thanks for Dirt2 Media for letting you guys do it. Um, yeah.
Well, we appreciate it, Bob.
All right. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Zane DeVault there. Good conversation with him, good family member. It was interesting to hear where he's at now in his next steps after not having a ride going where he needs to go. It'll be interesting to see where he does go. We had a good conversation with him after for about another good 15, 20 minutes about his next step, our next step too. He was really interested in what we have to do, what we want to do. So good guy to have on, good guy in general, good guy to see in the pits. So I enjoyed it. What about you, Spicy?
I enjoyed it, and I especially like the advice he kind of gave there because I asked a question about the younger generation. I think the younger generation might find some of his answers in that interview there really helpful to help potentially spark their career some.
Say he was. It was great to have that conversation. Great to hear him talk. I'm happy to see that he's moving on from the bad, I guess. Um, that said, coming up on Dirt2Media this week, you have non-wing national micro sprint at Sweet Springs. They're going to be there for a 2-night show for the Pete Fraser Memorial. Um, like I said, Friday, Saturday show. Saturday's Paul Moore Memorial at US 24. Catch all the action on Dirt2Media.tv. Then after that, man, 20 or Dirt2Media goes on a roll here. They go to the KKM Challenge on the 7th, 8th, and 9th. They have the Micromania in Texas on the 21st, 22nd, and the 23rd, I believe. And then they go to the Deuces Wild, which is the Dirt2Media's show. Biggest purse in micro history, 28th, 29th, and 30th at US 24 Speedway. So Dirt2Media is going to be the place to be. So if you don't have a subscription, go out there, get a subscription to Dirt2Media. You're not going to want to miss any action coming up. So with that said, I'm good to go. I enjoyed this podcast. Spice, you got anything?
Nothing other than just keep it spicy, guys.